Chairman Jim Walsh here for our regular weekly Chairman's Update. As you know, this month we've been talking about the WAGOP's plan to reduce homelessness in Washington. Serious matter. And as you know from our previous conversations, it's our position that addiction, primarily to drugs, but also to alcohol, that addiction is the largest single driver and cause of our homelessness in this state, the growing homelessness numbers in this state. And we've made that point, we've talked about that before. We do hear from some of our friends on the left wing of the political spectrum that addiction is not the biggest part of the homelessness problem, that housing, the lack of housing or the lack of affordable housing is the biggest driver. We disagree, but for the sake of argument, let's talk about the cost of housing and the availability of affordable housing and the cost of living in general. There is no question that the cost of living in the state of Washington has skyrocketed in the last several years. It's not just housing, it's not just rents. The cost of groceries has gone way up, the cost of energy, your electricity bill, way up, the cost of having a cell phone, gone way up, and of course, the cost of gas and diesel fuel has gone way, way up. So the cost of living, because of some of these perhaps well-intended but poorly structured policies coming out of Olympia, have been driving up the cost of living here. Has that contributed to people losing their homes or losing their apartment and getting put out on the street? That's part of it. What can we do about that? Well, we need to revisit some of the same bad policies that my colleagues and our friends on the left have been promoting in Olympia recently. We need to repeal the cap and trade tax that the state's put in place that's driven up that cost of gas and diesel. We need to reform our state's Growth Management Act to allow for more development all around the state, to increase the inventory of houses and apartments and townhouses, really everything. It's not just affordable housing that we're lacking in Washington, it's all types of housing, all levels of housing. We need to have more of all of it. We need to increase our housing inventories everywhere, at every point in the financial and sociological spectrum. We just need more. And our laws and policies coming out of Olympia have really put a brake on that. We have less. We're not developing. We're not building enough in Washington. So we need to build more. But really, when we talk about the cost of living, we need to take control of how we do law and public policy in Washington. Those of us who are common sense conservatives do. And this really can be a unifying thing, not just for conservatives, but for all people of goodwill in the state who want to see more housing built, who want to see the cost of living get under control. And of course, this year we do have some initiatives, people's initiatives to the legislature that will help do this, that will cut some of the tax schemes that are driving up the cost of living here, and will help restore some balance in the cost of everything in Washington, including the cost of rents and the cost of a mortgage and the cost of having a place to live, of housing. So I am encouraging everyone to support this group of 6 initiatives that will give people a tax break and will encourage all kinds of economic activity, including more building in Washington. And I can't finish this discussion without pointing out something about the recent general election that just happened earlier this month here in Washington. It was an historically weak turnout. Not very many people voted in this general election in 2023. As a result, a number of local races, city council races, school board races, local races, ended up being decided by a few votes. In some cases, 1 or 2 votes, literally. We need to increase our turnout. We need to increase the number of people sending their ballots in or dropping them off in a ballot box or handing them to a trusted person to deliver to the county auditor for them. We need to increase turnout. We need to get people believing again and voting again. And if we do that, we can pass the initiatives. And if we do that, we can get people in Olympia and DC who will support law and policy and tax policy that encourages building more housing units. That's where we need to go. And that's where the Washington State Republican Party stands. We need more housing in this state, and we need to take the red tape away and allow people to build safe, affordable housing and all kinds of housing all around the state. We'll be talking more about homelessness in the next week or two, and we'll get back onto the issue of addiction and how we can fight that. But I hope we've covered the bases here on the affordability and the cost of living issues, which do affect our homelessness crisis here. Talk to you again soon.